How y'all doing tonight? My name is Jim Jennings, and I'm filling in for Chairman Barber tonight because he is a bit under the weather, and glad to have everybody here. I would like to recognize the memory of Mr. Glancy Spain, who passed away a week ago. And, you know, Glancy was just a stellar board member here for 20-some years. I had the privilege of serving on this board with him for 20 of those years. Just a fine individual, an individual that knew people, knew how to bring people together, knew how to compromise, and understood what was good for Mecklenburg County and his constituents, and he will be sorely missed. So at this time, let's have a moment of silence for Supervisor Spain, who we will miss dearly. At this time, I want to read a statement. It is the board's practice that prior to the commencement of our board meeting, before calling the meeting to order, a prayer be given. The board member who delivers the prayer may make reference to his or her own religious faith, just as you might refer to yours when offering a prayer. We wish to emphasize, however, that members of all religious faiths are welcome not only in these meetings, but in our community as well. The participation of all citizens in this process of self-government will help our Board of Supervisors to better serve the good people of Mecklenburg County. And at this time, I'd like to call on Ms. Lundy for our prayer.
Would you bow your heads for invocation? Most holy and everlasting Father, we come at this hour to give you thanks for all the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. We also thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, who was born at this Advent season over 2,000 years ago to save the world from its sins. Father, we also pray for all who will have an empty seat or seats at their table this Christmas. We pray that you will comfort them as they go through this difficult time. Let them know that earth has no sorrow that heaven cannot heal. Now, as we assemble in this chamber, give us the guidance that we need to make good decisions for our county and the citizens that we serve. We pray that each of you will have a safe and blessed holiday. This we ask in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I will now call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our November the 7th meeting.
Motion to approve.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Mr. Carter, do you have any?
There is going to be a little change in order. I think we're going to be doing now the closed session and open. And if there's any questions specific to it, we would then go into a closed session, but we'd like to redo that into open session, correct?
And what is that on?
This
now?
is item
M.
M.
M,
We're
okay.
actually going to do that under open. If we
Okay.
need to go into closed, we will thereafter.
Okay.
I hope not to. And I have also a request from the Health Department for reallocation of their end-over funds. So that would be number 8 under my report.
Okay. All right. At this time, I would like to recognize Jennifer Bowen and her 4-H group. Jennifer, would you like to come up and say anything?
Thank you for having us tonight. This is the 2022-2023 class of the 4-H Innovative Leadership Academy. So this is a 6-month-long program for high school students to learn about leadership and citizenship. And one aspect of that is local government. So they're here today to see parliamentary procedure in action, and learn a little bit about how decisions are made locally. So they're a good group. Thank you.
We're delighted to have you. So, Mr. Carter, you're going to handle the zoning?
Yes, sir, but we need a motion on the agenda as amended.
Okay. Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right, sir. Next, we have a recommendation or a zoning application. Zoning application is by, check out my file, Network Towers LLC for a tower on the intersection of 903 and Morristown Road. This will be a 199-foot monopole tower on a 50-by-50 fenced-in compound. Planning Commission has held a public hearing, it's passed the 2232 review. There is someone here from the applicant on this matter.
Okay, would the applicant like to speak on this matter?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Ryan Fletcher. I am here on behalf of the applicant. I work for Network Towers 2 LLC. We would be the tower owner. I'm a land use manager with Network Towers. I do have a brief PowerPoint to just kind of cover our proposal and talk over the details. I'd be happy to answer questions once we complete the PowerPoint. Sorry about that. As you know, we're here before you for a special exception. It is a 199-foot monopole with exterior full arrays. It will be a 195-foot structure with a 4-foot lightning rod. As you are aware, the location is at the intersection of Highway 903 and Morristown Road. Our first wireless provider or the anchor tenant for the tower is T-Mobile. And as you know, Network Towers will be the tower owner. Next slide, thank you. This is a aerial overview. You see 903 in Morristown. The star represents our tower location. Next slide, please. Why are we here? We're here because there are no existing towers or existing structures to support co-location, so a new structure is needed. I will get to some maps that are going to show the coverage, the existing coverage and the proposed coverage, but currently there are no sites within 4 miles of our site. So what we're looking to do here is we're looking to connect the gaps, the gaps in the coverage. We have specifically cited it at this exact location so that it would be equal distances from the existing sites, again, to provide that seamless coverage for not only T-Mobile, but we anticipate and hope for other cell phone companies, wireless carriers going forward. So that is why we're here. We're here because there is very limited coverage. At best, the coverage is mostly outdoor or in vehicle, and we're looking to expand that footprint. I just have some stats here, just talking about the significance of wireless coverage, cell phone coverage, and why it is so critical and important for E911, for 911 calls when there's emergencies. A lot of us carry around a cell phone now. We not only use it to connect with our loved ones and our professions, but we use it to make calls when we're in times of need. As you can see, I put up the U.S. stats. Again, I'll just be real quick, cover them. 240 million 911 calls were made, and I have the source there. Over 80% of those were made from a cell phone. In Virginia, just under 4 million 911 calls were made in 2021, and 3 million of those calls were made from a wireless device. We have stats also from the county itself, almost 21,000 911 calls, and you see the frame of time a year. Out of those, almost 76% were made from a wireless device. So we know how critical they are, not only for our connection to our loved ones, our family and friends, and our jobs, but it's also critical to us when we have a time of need. Next slide, please. Again, I kind of already covered the need for the facility. What will this facility serve when it comes to wireless? It's going to serve the surrounding highways, nearby businesses, as well as residential development. So folks that are either working from home or just at home and off work hours, or folks that come down here and stay here, vacation here, as well as the lake itself. Again, benefits, it allows emergency workers to have that connectivity. So when they're operating in this area, they have the ability to rely on their cell phone to make a call when needed and to stay in connection with other members, whether it's fire and EMS or your police services. Additionally, it provides students access to online educational opportunities. As I mentioned, allows employees to work from home. And it provides not only infrastructure for T-Mobile, but for the other carriers, Verizon, AT&T, Dish Wireless, to expand their networks in this area. Next slide, please. What you're going to see, next slide, on this next slide here. This is our coverage map for T-Mobile. It's important to note this is for T-Mobile. They are our anchor tenant. As I indicated, we have told the other carriers about the site, and we believe very confidently they will co-locate as well in time. Currently, the red star is our proposed site. To explain the map, the areas in white are T-Mobile areas that have no coverage currently. As you go to the next shade, the lighter green, that's going to be outdoor coverage. So that may be I have to go to the end of my yard, I have to go somewhere in my yard to make a call or kind of lean out the window. That would be that kind of coverage. And then you get into what we would call in-building residential. You all know that there's differences in residential construction and commercial construction. So you get that next bit of coverage, and then the darkest green would be in-building commercial coverage. So that's going to pretty much mean you have coverage in almost every situation, whether it be the middle of summer or whether you be inside a building or a basement. Next slide. This next slide shows this site at 199 feet with T-Mobile at 190 feet on the tower, and the service is turned on. You can see that immediately, and I should have noted this earlier, I've listed the existing sites. Those dots with the addresses and rows, those are existing sites, existing towers, and you can see the distance between them. There was quite a bit of a gap in the coverage. Once we turn the site on, it connects, it provides a seamless coverage for not only T-Mobile's network. It covers the roads completely. It covers all the way down to the lake and even south into North Carolina, and it connects with those other 3 sites. I did show a 4th, but it connects those 3 sites as well. Next slide. This is just the overall site plan. So this is kind of giving you a footprint. If you were looking down at the site, I will cover it real quickly in the photo sims, but you'll note we're over 600 feet from Highway 903 and over 450 feet from Morristown Road. We've sited the compound and the base of the tower within the existing tree line. That tree line is approximately 60 to 80 feet. It's mature, deciduous, and evergreen trees. We've additionally sited it over 622 feet from the closest residential structure. And I would note that that is the closest structure, and we exceed that distance even further as far as any other homes here. We didn't want to leave it out in the open. We wanted to screen it the best we can. Cell phone towers are a line of sight technology, so they have to be able to see each other. There has to be clear line of sight between the towers and then between the tower antennas and your cell phone. Next slide, thank you. This just covers what's required by county code, what we provided, and the increase in the setback or the additional space. So front yard, we were required to be 100 feet. Our closest, we're 450 feet from that front line. Side is 10. We're over 622 feet from the side property line. Rear, 560. Again, I broke down percentages of how far we exceed the requirements. That's by county code. Nearest residential structure, we're required to be 200% of the tower height. That's rounded up 400 feet. We're 622 feet from that nearest residential structure. Next slide, please. This is an elevation. This is what the tower would look like. It's a monopole tower. Your cabling runs up through the monopole, and it comes out to the antennas, to the equipment that are up mounted vertically. I would note that you can see we've showed 4 arrays. This structure will be designed to accommodate all the carriers. It would be 190 feet, 180 feet, 170, 160. That's why we proposed the highest, the 195-foot tower with 4-foot lightning rod. It was to accommodate additional carriers so that they could connect their coverage needs as well in the future and factor in the tree line, the topography. Next slide. And I guess the other thing I'd like to mention, we have filed with the FAA and we've gotten our determination back. The tower will not be lit. we will not be required to light it. This is just a quick simulation of what it would look like. So we fly a balloon at the height of the tower. We go around to these views. They're marked. It might be easy to keep your paper copy in front of you of this location map so you can kind of see where the views are coming from when I walk through the photos. But essentially the red dots, again, it's a line of sight of technology. You want to be able to see it, but you also we wanted to screen the base as best we could. We fly the balloon at 199 feet. We ride around, take pictures from these locations, just give you a simulation. And we then take it back to our engineers. They simulate the tower, overlay it on the photo so that you have an idea of a representation of what it would look like when it's built. Next slide. So this view one, this is down on Morristown Road, looking back towards Highway 903. Like I mentioned, there's quite a bit of existing stand of vegetation, but it's going to screen a lot of the tower. You can see the array at the top. Next slide. And this is Highway 903. Again, that's that stand of trees. We tucked it in. That's between the tower and Highway 903. If you look to the right side of the tower, next slide. This is across the Tanglewood Drive looking back. So you're looking back towards Morristown Road, and 903 is right there in front of you. Next slide. This is coming from Black Ridge Road looking back. Again, I would note there is quite a bit of existing vegetation, which will help to screen this. Next slide. And this is our closest view. This is from Highway 903, looking back at the tower from a neighboring property. Next slide. Highway 903, you have quite a long view shed, so it does lose its visibility. I would note galvanized steel does tend to, again, you're going to see it, but it does tend to blend with the backdrop of the sky the further you get away. Next slide. In closing, again, this was a strategic siting. The placement is decided on by engineering from the carrier side, as well as working with us and positioning it in the best place on the property. We meet all the zoning requirements. As I noted, we far exceed the setbacks. We're sited within the existing mature wooded area to reduce the visibility of the compound. The entrance is actually, the road will come in and the gate will be on the side. So the gate, you won't see the gate, it doesn't face the road, either road. And we have staff and consultant support. Staff has recommended approval. Your cityscape consultant, your wireless consultant has recommended approval as part of their report, as well as the Planning Commission back on December 1st. Again, I thank you for your time, and I'll be happy to answer questions if you have any.
Anyone have any questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now open the public hearing for anybody who would like to speak on this special exemption permit application.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Herzing, and I'm with the 911, LKG 911 Community Task Force. And I'm here tonight just to thank you so much for, looking into the tower and looking into all the aspects of why we should have this tower. My husband died 3.5 years ago because there were not enough towers, and the tower pinged to the wrong county, and it took them 47 minutes to find him before that they could actually, the person that was doing CPR on him, the call went to Warren County instead of Brunswick County, and it could not be transferred at the time. And then when it was transferred, it took another 21 minutes to get to him. So I've been working really hard over the past 3.5 years with the first responders, with the telecommunicators. And the first thing we did was we thought, okay, we need to fix this by getting, more cell towers in the area, get broadband. What can we do to fix this? We were working with several cell companies, and they told us that, they could fix this problem by where it's going to ping on a tower, because we don't have that many towers, but they won't, because we live in a rural area and there's not enough money for it to be vested, for them to put the money into maybe helping with the existing towers that we have. And the only way that we're going to fix this problem is to get more towers, more broadband. Working with the 5 counties around Lake Gaston, including Mecklenburg, a lot of them are getting new technology and wonderful new technology, but unfortunately without broadband and without more towers, it's not going to do any good. They can turn on these wonderful things, but it's just going to keep spinning and spinning and spinning, and we're still going to have the same problem going forward. So I thank you very much for looking into getting this new tower, and I just want you to know how important this is, not only to me, but to the community itself and to 911. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll declare the public hearing closed. I do believe this is District 3.
Sir, I make a motion, we approve this request.
Motion been made to approve the request. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Mr. Slayton, I believe you're next with the voluntary boundary adjustment.
Yes, sir. This initiative was begun by Microsoft. In June of 21, Microsoft bought the Interstate Industrial Park in South Hill. And about 2 months ago, they bought an adjoining 16-acre parcel. The 16 acres is in the county, but not the town. The park is in the town. Microsoft asked that there be a boundary adjustment to bring into the town the 16-acre parcel so that all of their land would be in the town. The process for that is that there is a boundary agreement drafted, and that has been done. The town's attorney and I have then agreed on the wording of the agreement that's before you. The board conducts a public hearing this evening. At the end of that public hearing, if you choose to, you would adopt a resolution authorizing the signing of the agreement and authorizing the county attorney to petition the circuit court to enter an order which adjusts the boundary. There is no downside to the county for this boundary adjustment. After the ordinance is adopted, it's recorded in the deed book so that there's a permanent record that the boundary has changed. So if there are no questions, Mr. Chairman, it'd be appropriate to open a public hearing now.
Thank you, Ms. Slayton. Public hearing is now open on this boundary adjustment. Anyone choosing to speak on this? Hearing no one, we'll close the public hearing.
Yes, sir. Next would be adoption of the resolution, please.
Can I entertain a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's been made. All in favor, any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Mr. Carter, public
Yes, sir.
comment?
Yes, sir, we have several. Robert Moore.
Let me, you can come on up. I just want to read the statement first. In the public comment, each speaker will be given 3 minutes. The time limit will be strictly enforced. There's a time light to the left of each speaker. When the green light turns yellow, the speaker will have 1 minute remaining. When the yellow light turns red, the speaker's 3 minutes have elapsed. Citizens' comments and an opportunity for individuals to address the board. The board will not answer questions or engage in dialogue with any persons addressing the board during citizens' comments. If each speaker will provide his contact information, telephone number, and email address on the sign-up sheet, county staff will follow up if necessary concerning matters addressed to the board by the speaker.
Good evening. My name is Robert Moore. I thank you for the opportunity to appear before you this evening. I'm here to speak about the 3-foot setback that is currently in the building code here for Mecklenburg County. I made a drive here tonight a little over 3.5 hours. I want you to know that because I want you to know how important this issue is to me. My family has owned property in River Ridge since 1970. Some of you probably were not even born then. That property has been solely mine for my use and my enjoyment for the last 28 years. During that time period, working full-time and living a long distance from Mecklenburg County, I positioned my recreational vehicle, built an A-frame over it, built a nice deck with the intention that one day when I retired, I would add a small addition, 250 to 300 square feet, room and additional bathroom for my use and enjoyment so that I could come up here during the week and stay 2 or 3 or 4 days during the week. My weekends now are obligated with my church obligations at home. However, I retired at the end of February and in speaking to a general contractor was informed there is no way such a room can be built under the existing building code. For me to build any room or structure right now, I would have to move the recreational vehicle, completely demolish the A-frame and have it removed because no used building materials can be allowed to be used in River Ridge. I would have to demolish and remove the deck. I would have to extend the sewer line and extend the electrical connection and sub-panel. My estimated cost of this would be $18,000 to $19,000. Then, on the back, I could build a 250 to 300 square foot room. My point is, your existing building code with a 3-foot setback is causing me financial hardship and is not enabling me to use my property for my full enjoyment. I beg of you to closely consider removing this from your building code. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is James Knoll.
I'm James Knoll. I live at 245 Feather Trail, River Ridge, Bracy, Virginia. 2 years ago, this is in line with what the gentleman just said. A couple of years ago, Ed Harris told me that we could not build a room next to a camper for fire reasons. So we had to stay 3 feet off, so if there was a fire, they could get out and disperse. All right, so I have a customer who wants to build a deck and a room. And based on Mr. Harris's fire instance, I built the room to come over to the door of the camper so they had easy access out to the deck. When I put it in for the permit, zoning would not give me the permit based on that. This is what they approved. I made drawings for all of you, if you'd like to look at them.
You could give them to the county staff.
All right, this is what they approved. And based on the fact that it was supposed to be because of fire, I drew it that way. And come to find out, evidently it has nothing to do with fire. It has to do with zoning. I talked to the building code people in Richmond, Virginia, and as far as they are concerned, you can build a wall according to code right next to a camper because it is a movable object. That's not to say if it's bolted down and no axle and no tires, you know, there's not a permanent structure, which it states in the zoning code. So somewhere along the line, we have to come up with a way to be able to build these walls next to the camper, because what these people are doing is a lot of them are young couples. They buy the place. They want to build a room and a screen porch, and later, which we have done, pull the camper out and build a house, which Mr. Harris has proposed forever. You know, pull the camper out and just build the house according to code. And we've done that with 6 of them so far. I am a contractor in the county, and we've done 6 of these successfully, passed code, everybody's happy. But we can't do any more on a partial basis for future building because of the zoning code. It needs to be changed if it's ever possible. That's all I have.
Thank you.
The next name I can't read, but it's 86 Gunpowder Trail. I'll need you to give us your name, sir.
Alan Fisher?
Alan Fisher?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was one of the people that wanted to build onto my trailer, and then I couldn't because of 3.5 foot setback. I could have done this for like $20,000. I couldn't do it, so I ended up spending $60,000 pulling the camper out, and you know, it's just an unnecessary thing. There must be, well, there's 1,700 lots there, and probably 2/3 of them have rooms built onto the campers. So to say all of a sudden you can't do it is just limiting the use of your own property, and I really think everybody should make a change on that.
Thank you.
Robert and Pamela Raymond.
Good evening, I'm Pamela Raymond. Thank you all for taking the time to allow us to have public comment on this. This again, I'm here from River Ridge. I will be starting a new job there as the Park Association Manager in January. I was asked by some of our property owners to please address this with you all in hopes that you will consider changing this zoning. We do have several properties that already have this in existence, and as new people come in and as we try to better our park and increase our property values, this setback is going to be a hindrance. My husband and I actually own in there as well, and have future plans to extend our camper facility to allow for room additions based on the current covenants and guidelines allows. I would agree with the gentlemen who have been here before me and several other contractors within our park who have talked to me about this, that we would ask that you please strongly consider changing this new zoning rule. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Mrs. Herzog has already talked. Next is J.A. Jordan.
Good evening, board members, chairperson, I'm Jay Jordan. I live on Greenwood Road, which is Highway 823. It is a dirt surface or gravel road. Previously, there have been a number of citizens have come before this board requesting that this road be paved. I understand that this road is not even on the plan, either the 5 or 6 year plan. Since those members or individuals have come to this board, there are approximately 10 residents on this road, which makes this road high traveled. Prior to their coming to this panel or this board, there were only 4 houses. Traffic has increased. Road conditions have actually diminished. Potholes, rutting, washboards. I've made several calls to the Virginia Department of Transportation about the conditions, which they've done their best, but the road needs to be paved. I'm here asking that it be considered to be on the 6 year plan, that a study be conducted. I've also done a study of a couple other roads that have been paved that have less houses, that have less traffic, one being Lambert Road. Lambert Road is divided into 2 sections. One ends at a dead end, there are only 6 houses. The other portion, there's 7 houses. I've also looked at Rochichi Drive. There are only 9 houses. And I'm aware that there is a marina there, but that marina is closed in the winter months. I've also looked at the number of vehicles that travel that road, and it's nowhere near 40 or 50 that this board looks at. So we're asking that this road be considered to be put on the 6 year plan. A study be conducted on the number of vehicles, in which again is highly traveled. There's a curve, if any of you come to that area, which is a narrow curve. There's been accidents on that road. The visibility is very poor. It needs to be widened. So we're asking that you please look at this and make those considerations and hopefully get us on that plan to have this road paved. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all, sir.
That's all you have?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, we got the VDOT update. Mr. Smith?
All right, good evening. For our monthly update, our monthly report, y'all should have got that in your board package.
Yep.
Couple of highlights I was gonna hit was, primary mowing is still ongoing in Clarksville and Burnt Store area headquarters. Litter will be picked up after the mowing is complete. Chase City area, the primary mowing is complete along with their litter pickup. Other than that, we've been doing potholes and just normal dirt road maintenance in the county. I would like to let the board know that Jerry Basie, the superintendent at Burnt Store area headquarters, he will be retiring on December 24th of this year. He's been with VDOT for over 46 years and been the superintendent there at that area headquarters for the last 34 years. His knowledge and dedicated service will be greatly missed. With that said, we have promoted Josh Overby to the superintendent role there at Burnt Store. He's been with VDOT for 21 years. In the last 9 years, he's been the supervisor there under Jerry. He will continue to provide great customer service for the citizens of Mecklenburg County. That's all I've got on our normal monthly report. Do y'all have any questions?
Any update on the traffic signal at the new school?
That's next on the agenda.
Okay.
We have that report in here. VDOT
I
finished that
just want to
report.
make sure it wasn't getting by.
Right.
Sir.
I wasn't planning
I
to
don't
run
want
out.
Sterling to look mean at me.
It's coming.
All right, you ready for the next?
Yeah.
On my notes. All right, engineer study was completed on November 10th, 2022, to determine if a traffic control signal is justified at the intersection of Wooden Bridge and Route 58 and Route 4. The study considers the criteria found in the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is known as the MUTCD. This manual is published by the Federal Highway Administration. It is recognized and adopted by all 50 states as the standard determining the needs for traffic signals. Traffic volumes, crash history, and physical characteristics of roadways are collected and compared to the conditions or warrants as specified in the MUTCD. VDOT must follow these guidelines to ensure federal funding. Based on the data collected, the report indicates that the traffic signal is not justified. Current street approach volumes on Route 4 and on Wooden Bridge Road, along with the number of crashes, are too low to meet the warrants specified in the MUTCD. The key points of the traffic study I want to bring out was the traffic volumes on Route 4 and Wooden Bridge Road are about 40% of the volume to meet the MUTCD conditions for a signal. The peak time for traffic out there was at 2:45 to 2:55 p.m. Another point in the study was the presence of law enforcement is very important to keep the traffic on Route 58 at or near the 35-mile-an-hour school speed limit during arrival and dismissal time. When VDOT was collecting traffic data on the afternoon of October 4th, no law enforcement was seen by our data collector. On that afternoon, speeds on Route 58 was averaging 45 miles an hour, which is 10 miles an hour over the posted speed, the school speed zone. Also in the report, just want to say that the school traffic plan was well thought out and is working good. Study shows that no traffic is backing up on Route 58, and the queues on Wooden Bridge Road dissipates very quickly. Great job to the people involved in planning and maintaining the school traffic flow. Moving forward, VDOT will continue communications with the county officials in Mecklenburg County Public Schools for possible enhancements to this intersection. If noticeable traffic volumes increase on Route 4 or Wooden Bridge Road due to school growth, increase of housing, or commercial growth, VDOT will be glad to revisit and collect new traffic data for this intersection.
So basically, it doesn't qualify.
Yeah.
And you can't purchase a sign, you can't put a signal out there.
Well, it's based on previous accidents.
No, yeah, but they haven't hit any,
Well, the school wasn't even there.
right? But that's what they got, that's what they can go, only
Right,
go by
so-
is previous
So,
accidents.
you know, we've got, how many accidents does it require before something can be done about it? Is there a magic number?
I don't know if it's a magic number, but we also can't look in the crystal ball and predict traffic accidents at a intersection. The school zone set at 35 miles an hour, and I've been through there several times, and I have seen law enforcement out there, and I have seen the public is running, 35 or very close to that speed limit going through there. It was just kind of ironic that the day that our data collector was out there, they did not saying they weren't there, they just did not visually see the police out there. And that was one of the conditions in the previous study, was to have law enforcement present.
So one of the things, Alex and I were at the meeting with Lawrence Sterling. your traffic counts on the side roads have got to be much higher.
Yeah.
The problem you have is you're averaging 150 maybe a day, an hour, even on peak times there, and it needs to be up over 600. If we were probably at 80 or 90%, then we could sit down and talk. One of the things that the school board has done, and Brian said, we're routing everybody out to make right-hand turns out of there and right-hand turns in. So, for example, any of the traffic that's going back to South Hill, buses, they have to go all the way down to the D cut past the school, the R cut, I guess you call it, past the school entrance, loop back around. On the buses going back from Clarksville to the school, they're not letting those turn left onto Wooden Bridge. They have to go down the street all the way to Bassville, do a UE there, and come back in and take a right. They try to keep people from the buses out of the middle lane. Would you agree, Alex? That's one of the main things that we're trying to keep. That intersection is not wide enough for a bus to get across unless it's perfectly angled, like on 58, and just laid that way, going back eastbound. Coming across, there's no way he's not hanging out at least half the bus out into the road.
Right.
So they've rerouted everything. Of course, then when they did that after, I guess it was the first day, Brian said that they really did that. When they came out there, there's no one turning left because we've already routed the buses out the other way. We probably need to put another R cut in.
That's a possibility that we're gonna talk to traffic control about, maybe adding the R cut or increasing the loom down there to make the U-turn.
Yeah, I think the other two big takeaways that I came out of the meeting with, and so I'm going to relay them here. Number one is the Virginia Department of Transportation does not view traffic signals as a safety measure. They view it as, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my takeaway was that it's a reallocation of risk. Instead of putting the risk on collisions that are more dangerous in if you're coming across the intersection, you're more likely to cause physical harm to an individual, serious physical harm to an individual if you hit them this way. What the traffic light will do is it's gonna take those hits and put them into hits from behind. But you're still gonna have the same or potentially even more vehicular contact with another vehicle. So from that measure, they don't view it as a way of making people as a whole safer, even if it would reduce some of the more deadly incidents, of which fortunately we have not had there. So I think that was a big takeaway of mine was that for the emphasis that we're putting on safety, this recommended potential solution does not go anywhere in their eyes. The second big takeaway is, once upon a time, it was easier for communities to get around metrics. If you had the financial means and the desire, you could get a stoplight or other traffic improvements, and those days are long past. Today, VDOT and other state agencies are very metric-driven, and if you don't have the numbers, unless it's close, then they're not going to allow leeway, they're not going to allow slide, they're not going to allow backdoor measures. So once upon a time, this board could have declared, well, we don't really care what the traffic study says, we're going to go ahead and do it anyway, we have the money and we're going to pay for it. And that's just not the way businesses operated anymore. So if the metrics don't support it and VDOT can stand on the metrics, then there's not much more avenue that we can go at this point.
So they support the metrics and throw the responsibility on human error.
So when I say metrics, I mean traffic counts primarily. Yeah. Yep. And then also the accident history. Yeah. So you're right.
Okay.
I know we had an accident up there, maybe the first football game or some accident on what the fault was that. But have we had any accidents since then?
I'm not, that's the only one I know of. I don't know.
Mayor's not aware of any other accidents there. There was no student accident in Boynton heading out that way at an intersection, but as far as accidents there, we have not.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of the stoplight too, but I come through there one day and, I mean, it's pretty lit up when that school is released up there. I mean, it's, if you paying any kind of attention at all, you probably would see that. So, you know, if you're not paying attention, a stoplight ain't gonna make no difference either, is it?
Make any difference.
And I think that's part of what they were saying, because you're right, there are enough blinking lights there. If you don't spot it, you're gonna run the back of somebody if stoplight there. And I think that's their concern is tractor trailer coming up at 60 miles an hour. Somebody's at the light, he's not paying attention. He plows right through it. It's gonna be even worse. Or what happens if that bus is crossing, because it can turn left now, and he's not paying attention, and he just plows into that way. The T-bone accidents are what they're really worried about. But if you looked at the metrics, at no hour does either Route 4 or Wooden Bridge meet the traffic counts. So it's like 8 different metrics and we fail every one of them.
Okay.
We can keep going back and looking, but you know, we came up with other ideas, as Alex said, convenience store, maybe some developments in there. Then somebody else would have to look at it depending upon that, because at a 60-mile-an-hour zone, for example, right now there's an intersection, 2 intersections right on the other side of Route 4 coming eastbound into the convenience store. Under the current guidelines, that would not be allowed.
I believe that's correct.
Based on what the traffic engineer said, correct? Neither one of them would be allowed. They'd have to turn in off of Route 4 and turn in that way. No one would be allowed to run off of 58 at 60 miles an hour. You could legally do that without pulling, I mean, that was just the way the rules were back 40 years ago when Triangle 2 was built. Or 50 years ago when John Thomas said it was probably 50 or 60, wasn't it? Yeah, so there wasn't these regulations. Now, they'll have to come in, and that's what they were talking about, Wooden Bridge. They'd bring everybody in a Wooden Bridge and bring them back out, so that therefore then that traffic count would get up high enough, it would count, qualify. But until then,
That's way a long time down the road.
yes, sir, unfortunately.
Anybody else have anything on this topic?
You want to abandon the resolution?
You want me to jump on that one? What's first? The abandonment?
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. The abandonment, up there at the school, West Cross Road, that was the old 676, Route 676, that was going, into the school property. Of course, all that was changed. All that was changed around. The old road is still in the state system in the right of way and stuff. And we need to get that out of the system and abandon it. And basically, it would turn over to the county. So after that is abandoned, we need to look at getting, which would be Route 9000, the school route, going around the school building. We need to get that in the state system for the school route. And plus, we need to reissue 676. I know this gets confusing, from Wooden Bridge Road just up to the last private entrance. So as soon as before you get to the football field, after that last private entrance, the road number is going to change to a 9000 to a school route. We need to get that into the system.
Can we take both resolutions, two separate motions?
You're going to need to follow.
Small, just a question. That dirt road on the other side, is that West Cross as well? That other little dirt
That's
road?
called East Cross.
All right, that's a totally separate entity.
That's a total separate road issue.
So we bought that house that was in the corner right there,
Yeah.
and straightened it, and actually the road comes in, because you remember it was at an angle going back. You really couldn't see back to the right if you were coming out of that road. So that would be abandoned. And 9000 takes us, he said, from where that other house is, and loops all the way around and does the front road too, correct?
Does the main entrance on 58.
So all that would be Route 9000.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll entertain a motion to abandon portion of Route 676.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's been made. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And we also need a resolution to add school Route 9000 and the new Route 676.
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you,
All right,
Mr.
thank
Smith.
y'all. Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
You too.
Thanks.
Mr. Nichols, I believe you're next.
So they can push the there. Thank you, Mr. Jennings, members of the board. I'm pleased to continue to bring information to the board on the various school projects that we have going on. Of course, you've heard quite a bit about the intersection and the work there. We will be presenting the same information to our board at the upcoming meeting next Monday night. We are close to the end of the punch list on the new middle and high school, and I'm very pleased that that is coming along quite successfully. The auditorium is now open. We had a very successful first program there with the Nutcracker presentation. This Wednesday night, we have the school band and the new choir that will be giving a concert presentation. Everything has been very pleased. Everyone's been very pleased about the opportunity to move into that and use that facility with sound and lights and things that go along with it. There is still some few items there and some work that we're doing to complete the program that we have with Ballou Justice Upton with the architects as well as the Cleveland Construction. We do have a joint education committee meeting this Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Thank you, Ms. Lundy, for support with that. It'll be a full giving of information related to where we are with all of it, as well as bringing in the information on the work that's being done with Clarksville Elementary School renovation. And certainly that's moving along as on schedule. There's some design work that's being done. We've had some information with the school itself, the teachers and others there, and the board, and looking at components that are being looked for there. So there's some design that we'll be able to show to the Joint Education Committee, some design ideas that they've not been finalized at that meeting. And we look forward to it. And if you have any other questions, I'll be certainly happy to answer questions that you might have tonight or at that point. We would just, I know you know, but Mr. Spain was a very honored member of that joint committee, and we're looking forward to working with whomever you choose to replace him with at the appropriate time.
Anybody have any questions?
Have things calmed down now and we're about
Yes.
the fighting and all that stuff?
Yes, there's been quite a bit of work on our board's part with the disciplinary committee. In January, we'll be presenting even more ideas of some of the wonderful things that have been going along with the alternative ed program. I'm very pleased that we've been able to have much more involvement with that from social services, from mental health, from even the judges' bench. With the SROs, I cannot say enough about how wonderful it's been to work with Sheriff Hawkins and his staff in working with the students and others. I think that they've all recognized some of the discipline issues that they need to follow along with. At the same time, the whole focus of attention that we have on the career academies and the development of that is continuing to be well recognized. We have a lab school proposal going into the governor, and I have meetings on Wednesday with that, and with high expectations for that to be recognized very soon. So it's going along very well.
Good to hear.
Okay, very good.
Very much. Y'all
Thank
have a
you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Next, we have the Agricultural Development Committee, and I will be giving that report. The Agricultural Development Committee met on Tuesday, November the 22nd, 2022, at 9 a.m. in the Board of Supervisors Conference Room. Members present: Jim Jennings, Chairman; David Brankley, Sterling Wilkerson, Taylor Clark, Mark Moody, Bill McBride, Chris Jones, Brian Calhoun, Mark Warren, Irvin Matthews, Mark Brankley, Chuck Nelson. Members absent: Chris Ramey. Also present, Judy Sheffield, Assistant County Administrator, Alex Gottschalk, Deputy County Administrator, Jenny Whittemore, Executive Assistant. Chairman Jennings called the meeting to order. Supervisor Brankley gave an invocation. Chairman Jennings began introductions around the room. The committee discussed the following goals of the Restructured Ag Development Committee, highlighting the main objective is to proactively identify agricultural issues that have the potential to affect the agricultural industry and economy of Mecklenburg County. To inform and educate local, elected, and governing officials on agricultural issues throughout the rural county, state, and throughout the rural country, state, and county of Mecklenburg. To surface ideas that promote the well-being of growers and the agricultural crops they grow. To ensure that future generations of Mecklenburg County farmers will have the right to farm. Members of the committee to surface ideas that promote agriculture within the county. To make the county officials aware of crop conditions after natural disasters such as drought, excessive rains, floods, storms, and other things. The committee discussed a meeting schedule and agreed on a meeting early in 2023 before the conclusion of the General Assembly session and an annual dinner meeting in March of 2023. There being no further business, the meeting was adjourned. Any members have any discussion on that? Mr. Brankley, Mr. Wilkerson?
Very good attendance, I think. Like I say, most of them were there and
They were very engaged.
very much.
They really wanted to do that. It's encouraging, to get a new group going in, to hopefully continue the path that we need to with agriculture, being such a strong presence in the county.
Thank y'all. I'd like to thank this board for the support that committee has had over the years that I've been involved with it. I think I've been vice chairman of it ever since I've been on this board, and the proactive stance that this board takes toward agriculture in this county is second to none in Virginia. Next, we've got the property committee, and I will be giving that report. The property committee met on Monday, December the 12th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. in the Board of Supervisors meeting room, Boydton, Virginia. Members present, Jim Jennings, Chairman, Claudia Lundy, Andy Hargrove, Sterling Wilkinson. Others present, David Brankley, Charles Jones, Tom Tanner, Wayne Carter, County Administrator, Judy Sheffield, Assistant County Administrator, Alex Gottschalk, Deputy County Administrator. The chairman called the meeting to order. Mr. Carter reviewed possible uses for the Parkview Middle School. Currently, the sealant on the roof is holding, but the membrane is pulling away from the edge of the roof system. The estimated cost to repair the roof is $25,000. Another use in an industrial site. The county doesn't have any sites on the eastern half of the county. The site is 35 acres in total, with the southern border being the creek. The committee members didn't want to spend any additional funds on this site. Upon a motion of Ms. Lundy, the committee unanimously agreed to repair the roof and proceed with demolition after the property is deeded to the county. Mr. Carter stated that what house is that, Wayne?
Ghanem.
Ghanem, okay. Ghanem House has been demolished and Baxa is working on the plans. We hope to have the project out to bid in late spring. This would be the property beside this building right here. Mr. Brankley asked about possible uses of Bluestone Middle School in the future, and Mr. Carter stated that a convenience center has been discussed to be considered at the site. Staff will work to try and leave the athletic fields untouched. There being no further business, the meeting was adjourned. Anybody have any comments on the property committee meeting? Hearing none, we'll go to the county administrator's report.
Yes, sir. First, we have the building inspector's report. You can still see that building permits are up, or at least holding well. And that's throughout. I mean, new houses, we still had 8 this past month versus 6 a year ago, so very pleased there. Zoning permits are also up. You have the animal warden's report. Sheriff's business, their stops. If you look, they had almost 2,500 different stops or checks that they made throughout the entire month of November. They had almost 250 traffic summonses or traffic stops and throughout theirs. Southside Behavioral Health's report is in here. They will be coming back looking, I think, for some of the local money we got in the opioid settlement with regards to some programs for them. I will tell you that at the VACO conference, a group of rural county administrators from Southside started discussions about trying to do a program for ourselves because the Community Services Board are going to be getting settlements out of the master settlement agreement. They will be getting funds throughout what the state's getting to prepare and to provide programs. We're looking to see what we can do regionally because none of us get that much money. Most of us, after the next couple of years, get about $20,000 apiece. So it's not enough to do anything singularly. Is it enough to match with some other funds that maybe we can do some kind of facility, et cetera? That's what we're looking at. So we're having some discussions with regards to that just to find out and I think everyone is cognizant of it and wants to try to do something that would make a lasting effect versus just a Band-Aid. So that is happening. Broadband, you do have a new report in here. This does show you, this will be coming out every month. It does show you how many passings we have, how many miles of fiber has been put in the ground. We've got over 900 miles now, almost 9,000 passings, and I don't have this one on this one, but also we have over 1,000 individuals in Mecklenburg County who have purchased. They're steadily adding. They were just at about a year ago 1,000. They almost now have 3,000 customers empowered throughout their system. We need approval of a rabies clinic on the 21st of Saturday. Dr. Eden will be helping out the treasurer's office, and we'll be having that for folks to bring their animals by. We have it usually underneath the awning out there so that don't have to get out, get wet, anything else. They just drive up, put 2 or 3 cars in there, they give them the shots. You go inside, you fill out your paperwork, and then they come back.
Entertain a motion to have this clinic.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
2 more quick items. The Health Department is requesting that their carryover funds for this year, or for last year, $33,983.26, be reallocated back to them this year for the purchase of Hep A vaccines due to the uptick of cases in the community and for more shingles vaccines in the community. We have done this for a number of years, so we need a motion to reallocate that funds back.
Mr. Chair, so move.
Motion been made. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries.
Quick item, you do have in front of you Dominion power line update. We'll probably have them back sometime this spring, but I left that underneath each one, along with the letter from the Health Department for you all to see. They also have come up with a new site. I'll be sending it out to Tom and Ms. Lundy, because one of the things when you looked at their old, when they had the public meeting, you can see the poles. Well, they can show you what it actually looks like. The poles were superimposed in front, so you would see it, but they're actually over 1,000 feet back in the woods, so you will not actually see them. So I'll be sending that out to you two, or anybody else if y'all are interested. But those were the two. You two are very interested in Rick's Mill, and that's what they've got doing with regards to that. Okay. Finally, let's see. Also, from staff's perspective, we do miss Mr. Spain. He was here serving with me for 27 years, with my 33. He was very good as personnel chairman to all staff. He came by, he checked on people, he came down to social services as their chairman and checked on those workers. He will truly be missed from staff's perspective. He truly was a gentleman and served everybody in Mecklenburg County, not just his own constituents.
Absolutely right.
Just wanted to say that. Thank you, sir.
Next is the chairman's report. I think Wayne and I talked about the appointment on the welfare board. Mr. Barber wanted to wait to January, I believe, on that.
On Mr. Spain, this is the one for Mr. Emery, who
Okay.
And I did send out one individual who has volunteered to serve on that board. He's an ex-educator.
we got the email on that. It
Yes,
is,
sir.
hold on, I got it right here. Earlene Palmer, is that the one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's Lindale Palmer's wife.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay,
I think she's taught for years in the school system.
okay. Entertain a motion to appoint this lady.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we appoint Ms. Earlene Palmer to the position on the South Side Service Board.
This would be on the Social Services Board.
Social Service Board, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
The motion's been made. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion carries. And need a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion to approve.
Motion been made. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. And the motion carries. Mr. Slayton, I think you're up next, and probably something not all of us want to talk about, but.
Yes, sir. Because of the unfortunate death of Mr. Spain, there's a vacancy in Election District 2. Under state law, the board can fill that vacancy by appointment. Under state law, the board has until January 19th to do that. The board meets on January 9th, so that works out well as far as timing goes. What the board needs to do and has done in the past is adopt a process it's going to use to let people who are interested in being appointed know what is required of them. So we had a process we handed out. I'll run over quickly with you. Those persons interested in being appointed should submit a statement of interest to the county administrator's office by Thursday, December 29. The staff will forward copies of those submissions to the board. The county staff will cause this process, if you approve it, to be posted on the county's webpage. We did not discuss publishing in the newspaper. You certainly can do that if you think it would be a help. Then when you meet on January 9th, presumably you would want to convene a closed meeting to discuss the applications you've received. You don't have to, but you could. After that, you would reconvene an open meeting, and there would be nominations taken from the floor and obviously a vote taken and a candidate appointed. The candidate who's appointed could take the oath of office that day or any subsequent day. The candidate appointed would serve until December 31 of this year because you have a general election next year in November. This won't be an interim, but it'll be an appointment to complete the entire remaining term of Mr. Spain. So you need to, on the process, there's two discretionary things. Do you folks want us to schedule a closed meeting so that you as a group can review the applications submitted to you and discuss those confidentially?
Yes.
And would y'all also want to interview the candidates individually?
Yeah, that's a different issue. Do you want the candidates to come in and be interviewed by you? Some do, some don't. You can go off the applications, but if you want them in, you can certainly do that. If you do it, you can do it in a closed meeting. Obviously, your vote is taken in an open meeting. So the question is, and then on the closed meeting, in the handout, I mistakenly put in 9:30. I don't think you want to open your meeting with a closed meeting. So we could just move that further back in the agenda. If the process generally is acceptable to you, the two discretionary matters we need to know: do you want to interview the candidates? That's up to you. And do you want to discuss them in a closed meeting? And I would think yes. So you could do that privately before you come out in your open session. Really, just one question: do you want to convene in closed meeting with the candidates for them to talk to you?
We could actually set up to interview or go into closed session at 8:30. You could do it before the board meeting in January. And then if you wanted to interview the candidates in open session, which y'all have done in the past, y'all haven't interviewed in closed, y'all actually had them come out and speak about themselves in open before. So we could do that combination and then be able to start our board meeting at 9:30 and have that individual sworn in by the clerk.
If you do what Wayne is suggesting, just help me remember, you need to adjourn this meeting to 8:30 on Monday, January 9th, because that would be a meeting. So you won't have to convene a special meeting.
I'm just thinking that would be easier.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And start our meeting like normal, Russell,
I
as you
agree.
just said.
So and I think, you want the candidates in, I guess, at 8:30.
45 days is short.
45
days is a short period of time right here at Christmas. Try to do that.
It is.
Yeah.
State law, that's what.
Yeah. But anyway.
We would send out all the resumes with the letters of interest the week before the board meeting.
So do you want, in addition to posting on the webpage, do you want this notice published in the newspaper? I'm sure there'll be articles about it. I hope there'll be articles, but.
We've always done that in the past.
Whatever you think, we've done in the past, I guess is what we need to do now. Would be my
To
opinion.
get enough interest.
Yeah.
So the action would be to adopt the process that's been presented to you, modified to include, I think you just said, advertising in the local newspaper, and stating that you're going to convene at 8:30 on January 9 in a closed meeting to discuss this. And do I understand you do or do not want the applicants in? I'm sorry.
You could have them here, and if you want to talk to them, you could decide that from there. I mean, I
Well,
think
you
it's,
hate to get them here at 8:30 if you're not going to talk to them.
I
What
would
did
agree.
you say they've done in the past?
in the past, what they've done is at a board meeting, we have had them just come forward, speak for like 3 to 5 minutes about themselves and sit down, and then y'all voted. I don't know if there was any, I'm trying to remember whether we went and closed. I think we went and closed in the back, but that was it after they spoke. That way you could have them here. You could discuss and close. They could be out front. You could have them speak before we ever got to the board meeting time. At 9:30, you can go back and forth.
There's no one right or wrong way to do it, but I think Wayne's got a good idea. You got them here at 8:30. They could address you. You could go in closed. If you want to call all of them in or one or more of them in, you could. And then come out and conduct your business in open meeting. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So we entertain a motion to
Yes, sir.
go with that procedure.
Adopt the policy as presented. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
We'll send it back out to you all, if Russell.
Oh, yeah.
review it and
Okay.
Make sure everybody's in the same.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the motion's been made. Any more discussion on this
If you need him
motion?
to read it again, I'd be.
Yeah, no.
Well, I think we probably got
What'd he
it
say?
there. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
And then just one other point on this, the seat is still the old seat. So the district boundaries and the eligible candidates are from the old district lines. Now, obviously, there could be a consideration of candidates' interest in seeking a full term from the new district, in which case then you'd have to, think about where people live. But just for clarity's sake, this final year of the term and the candidates to be chosen from are from the old district boundaries.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Next, we've got board member comments. We're moving right along here.
Good job.
So, Ms. Lundy, you want to go?
Yes, thank you. I don't have anything else to say, but just I wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and remember the reason for the season. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Franklin?
Well, can't help but say, I've been on this board 11 years now, and it's hard to look down there and not, I feel like I still see him, Mr. Spain down there, and, just one of probably the finest men that I've ever met. I just cherish a lot of the one-on-one talks we've had, not only here, but outside, and, how important little things was to him, and the way he handled stuff. He didn't never have a growl at nobody or nothing, but you had to listen to him, but he listened to you. And when you asked him a question, he never give you a quick answer. He thought about it, before he said anything. But, I just hope when Mr. Hargrove does my funeral, that he has half as many good things to say about me as they said about Mr. Spain yesterday. and all. But I feel confident he's looking at us right now and he knows everything we're talking about right now. I have all the confidence in the world he does. Again, like Ms. London said, hope everybody has a Merry Christmas.
Amen.
Thank you. Mr. Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What everybody said, I would like to express my condolences to Mr. Spain and Mr. Brent Ritchie's families. We also lost a school board member also, and both of these gentlemen served our county well. And I think they both loved this county. When I came to this board, Mr. Spain welcomed me. Sitting here beside him, of course, he would always lean over every once in a while and kind of give you a friendly piece of advice or anything else that he felt you needed to know. I'll definitely miss his calm demeanor and his quiet leadership. He always, like Mr. Branker said, never got riled up about anything, but also didn't mind speaking out when he felt it was in the best interests of this county or its citizens. So he will truly be missed. I'd like to thank all our county employees for their hard work this year, and I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy, safe, and prosperous New Year.
Thank you. Mr. Wilkerson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What else can be said, what they've said about Mr. Spain, when I came on the board, it really took time to talk to me, and to get it going, and I won't ever forget that, and I trusted him in what he said always. He's been here a long time, so I really looked for him for experience, and he was just, had such a way about him. Everyone loves Mr. Spain, for lack of better words. So we certainly are going to miss him tremendously. And, just keep the family in prayers and friends. And just like to say, going back to the light of the school, it's a big presentation here. We had the engineer last week here from VDOT. And I just wanted to be known that the county has done all it can. It exhausted every effort to try to get this light there. It's a touchy topic. It's an emotional topic possibly. But the fact of the matter is, it was ultimately VDOT's decision. We did all we could, and this may change. We will certainly stay after them in the future if it's needed. I'll do my part to stay after them all I can. But anyway, we did all we could, and hopefully it'll be okay up there. So, and again, just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and like Ms. Lundy said, the reason for the season. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hargrove?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nichols, it's good to hear that the punch list is almost finished, that the auditorium is open, and so the school is ready in its completion. Now, also, I'm asking for permission, if you will, right now, that Mr. Branker and I can do our first duet there.
They ain't got enough seats for that.
And also, Spain is going to be greatly missed. And I don't want to talk too much because then I go over the deep end, but he will be greatly missed. And it was good to have the 4-H here tonight. I didn't say nothing wrong, I hope. So it was good to have that. And I want to wish each one a very, very merry and wonderful Christmas. But before I close out, when I do your funeral, I'm just going to tell the truth.
That's all I want you to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Well, y'all pretty much said everything. Mr. Spain was, just as everybody said, a very special person that will sorely be missed in our hearts, because he gave a calmness to this board that, this board doesn't get into any the stuff we see on TV and everything, and he was a common influence about any decision that needed to be made, and I respected him in all ways that there can be. And I'm glad to hear that the school's doing well, and that I think Mr. Nichols said that we're working on getting lab certification with the governor, and hopefully that's going to come to pass, and just bright things happening over there in our brand new school, and glad to see it. And wish everybody here a Merry Christmas. I know the staff works very hard for us, and each and every family member, that they will keep Jesus in their hearts and understand that that's the meaning of Christmas, is the birth of our Savior. Amen.
Thank you. I think everybody has pretty much summed everything up. I would have to say that, you know, I got to say something about Glancy also. I mean, if you were going to set a template of a public servant and a gentleman and a man of honor and a man of his word, you would have Glancy Spain. He would be the template, in my opinion. I talked to Glancy probably more than I did any other board member through our years together on the board about different things and things that were going on in Boyd's and just different things that we were dealing with and everything. And he was always just so willing to listen and discuss things and as Mr. Brinkley said, never really jumped at an answer, but he always gave the right answer in the end, and he will be absolutely missed on this board and hard to replace. And I do want to thank the county staff. Wayne, you and all the employees in the county do absolutely wonderful job. Alex and you've fit right in and getting things done, so we greatly appreciate all that. So anyway, this was my first time doing this. I hope I did okay.
Very good job.
So anyway, yeah. Well, that's one of my goals. Time. Mr. Slayton knows that. So anyway, Merry Christmas to everybody, and we got a couple of more little things. Alex, you're next.
Yes,
Okay.
we're not done here. You
Yep.
know. You know. So speaking of thank yous to the county staff, the next item is a compensation classification study.
I got you.
So last month, Evergreen Consultants, who is the firm we retained to look at this item, presented to the board, and we were thrilled to have Rob Williamson, Peter Backhouse here to do that. Evergreen presented a proposed solution. The solution that they offered was a hybrid model. It was based on a mixture of service to the organization at large, as well as their tenure in current position. And so the summation of the presentation was that there would be a total cost of the overall adjustment that would be in the neighborhood of $550,000. In the subsequent weeks, Judy and I met in this room a lot, going over line by line of the recommendation, looking at all the employees, all the recommended classifications. We talked to a number of department directors, and we've come up with a series of adjustments to these recommendations based on organizational philosophy, based on areas where we thought that their evaluation may not have fully incorporated what our jobs do. And so at the end of the day, the total cost of the adjustments after we reviewed it would be just over $400,000. So 400 at the present moment, and this is subject to further tweaks as we have turnover in the organization and other items, but right now it would be about $407,950 would be the annualized cost of those adjustments. In the budget this year, we had set funds available. We knew that this study was in progress and that we were targeting a half-year implementation beginning on January 1st. So we had set aside $211,256 for this purpose. Most of that was in the budget. Then we added a little bit when we got additional revenue from the Commonwealth for libraries that we hadn't previously anticipated, thanks to an action of the General Assembly to fund libraries at a greater rate this year. So that would allow us to fund that half year. It actually ended up working out fairly well. The half year cost of the adjustments would be just under the amount we have available, so we can do the full half for all of the employees that are recommended for adjustment, and then parcel out the other 8,000 or so based on a ratio of how much of that half that they were scheduled to get. So that's where we're looking at. We're looking at a total cost of about $204,000 for the half year and $211,000 available. So tonight, what we would need in order to go forward with that would be we would need adoption of an ordinance, which is before you. And to walk through the ordinance, there's several different items that are being covered by this text. Number one, first and foremost, would be adoption of the overall pay plan that was recommended. That's the general pay plan with new proposed ranges in the aggregate. That was presented to you last month. That, if you adopt this, would make that the overall new pay plan for the county beginning on January 1st, and that would cover not only all existing employees, but that would cover any new employees that are hired into the organization next year would be slotted on the new pay plan, which of course would start over $35,000 a year would be the minimum of that pay plan. So that would be the first enactment clause. The second enactment clause pretty much grants the county administrator the ability to actually implement those individual adjustments to people as recommended. That would allow them to be paid in the January paychecks and subsequent months. It also gives us the authority to do that line by line work that we've done to date in making the adjustments. It would say, yes, go ahead and take those recommendations and make that essentially an amendment attached thereto to the original set of recommendations and in their place. So that would be the second enactment clause. The third one allows us to, the money's already appropriated, so you don't have to do any appropriation action, but it would authorize us to expend those appropriations that are already in place. The fourth enactment clause, we did come into a bit of a, I wouldn't say it's an issue, but it was something that we weren't necessarily aware of when we began this project. And that's when it comes to the Department of Social Services, it's not just us who has to approve any pay adjustments. Obviously, the Board of Social Services, which is an appointed, you all appoint that, has to approve, but even more so, the Commonwealth has to approve. Virginia Department of Social Services has to consent to any pay adjustments because they reimburse all of the positions. So in order to draw down the reimbursement on the higher salaries, they have to grant approval to any adjustments. So by virtue of that, what this ordinance will do would say the board it reaffirms that the board says we want to do these adjustments and to pretty much act as a token of your approval when we transmit it up to VDSS and say the board is in favor of this, approve this, please. So it's just muscling your support behind the recommendations, but it's also saying that we can't implement those for our social services until such time as the state grants its approval. And so the employees at social services will almost certainly not get adjustments in January. This says that it goes into effect the paycheck after the state authorizes it. So that's an unfortunate circumstance from the perspective of those employees that they're going to have to wait beyond some of the rest of the workforce, but that's what happens when you have a service that is divided among multiple different levels of government. The other aspect of that is that the funds that will come out of social services for the social services will come out of their social services budget. So we won't have to give them any extra additional appropriations authority this year in order to fund the increases should they be approved. So that's the trade-off there. They have additional funds that they can draw upon, but they also have additional approvals that they must seek. And then the fifth enactment clause simply instructs the county administrator to include the costs of these adjustments in next year's budget submission. So that's what the ordinance would do. So a lot going on there, several different components of that ordinance, but this is a pretty holistic action that is going to really improve the lives of several members of this organization, and it is a reflection of our organizational goal to have the best provision of services available and the highest quality workforce out there in order to help the citizens of the county at large.
One question that I got. I know you and Judy have been a little bit more in the weeds with this than we have. I know it kind of brings us more in line with the prevailing wage, you know, for these types of jobs. Does it also, in y'all's opinion, do a good job at addressing the compression that's been in some of the different pay things? I mean, you say the sheriff's office or something. Does it address the new person being hired versus the person that's been here for 15 or 20 years?
Separation.
And do anything to
Yeah, so that's the appeal and the selling point of the hybrid model, is that it's not solely focused on tenure in organization, but that's a large component of it. So it does reward longevity. It also, as importantly, rewards service in a whatever the current role is. So, I mean, there's also a distinction between working for 30 years, but also, you know, working your way up over time. And so if you have a certain number of years in a supervisory capacity or other areas, then this also provides benefit for having worked your way up the organizational chart as well. And if you have, Judy, if you have anything to add to that.
That's one thing I do like about it. It is based on years of service, longevity, but it's also based on the job you're doing and how many years you've been doing that job. That was one of the biggest things. Alex and I, we spent a lot of time on this, is getting everyone's title straight.
Well,
I mean, that's huge. And honestly, until we worked on it like this, I did not realize that, how important it was, that we knew exactly what every person does.
Did you have to create any new titles?
Yes, sir. We did. We did create some new titles. We found out we had to.
Yeah, and that is something that we're going to have to do a better job of
Yes.
Going forward. Is we do have to recognize that the market shifts over time, and some of that is going to be having to retitle people, is to get them in accordance with whatever job functions that they're currently doing, which may not be the same job functions that they did 10 years ago. And as jobs shift, as occupations shift, and as the market demand here shifts, we are going to have to recognize that through reallocation of duties, perhaps, but also when we've reallocated those duties, to call them what they are doing accordingly.
We have a lot of clerks here. Alex and I found that out. We have a lot of clerks.
So is the formula that you use, is that like the same for every individual? Or is it, you know, I'm sure it's objective, you know, I don't doubt that at all, but.
There is a formula that is applied. Some of that formula, the calculation at the end of the equation does take into account where their starting point was in some cases. So for instance, if people were above where the market rate came in at, then they didn't necessarily get an adjustment because they were already above or towards the high end of their scale. So there was no need to bring people up in that case.
So there were some markers you had to hit for every position.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of new job titles, do we ever take under consideration that new titles, job titles that are coming in this oncoming year, EMS and so forth?
Yes, EMS was included in this survey.
Great, thank you.
Is it possible we could, at some point, see a breakdown of, I mean, I see the lump sum there, but of how it was done? Okay.
Can you do that without names, positions?
Yes.
just by job title or something? Is that what you're asking, Mr. Frank?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with this. I mean, what we were talking about, but just curious to see how it was broke down.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be a range on some of them, wouldn't it? I mean, you're not going to put names.
No, I don't want names, just positions.
But I mean, job title might be.
Well, in some
range
cases,
with a
there are
midpoint.
one person per job title, so that would be, you could deduce that, yeah.
But yeah, my main concern was just making sure longevity was, because I know in a lot of agencies, they're running into it. The new person coming in is making almost what the person that's been here for 10 years.
Yeah,
was making.
inflation goes up.
And that is probably, in all honesty, that is, not only does that happen in general, but that will happen in a lot of
But
cases
that was
going
probably
forward,
the
too.
highest percentage of the adjustment too, wasn't it?
I would say, I don't know how to quantify that particular one, but there was certainly a lot of adjustment at the higher end of our or people who've been in the organization for a long time.
I think, I want to thank Alex and Judy for all the work on, because they did everything. I had nothing to do with it. But I think, and I truly mean that, absolutely nothing, okay? Because it was this was their the project. As the gentleman from Evergreen told y'all last month, your long-term employees started off low, so they never got those adjustments along the way because they've been here for 20-plus years. So 20 years ago, we started somebody off with so much lower, any of the employees, so much lower, that your long-term employees got a lot higher boost just because of that. I mean, you know, we used to start off employees at wages, I don't know how they made a living, I swear, and did things. So y'all seen that on Personnel Committee. You know, when we talked about starting salaries, and that was one of the main things that we're really working on was those long-term employees, because those are the ones who've been with you for the last 25-plus years. And you should take care of them. They've been loyal. They were loyal when they weren't getting paid to be loyal. So.
But yes, thank y'all for y'all's work too, very much.
With Wayne, he didn't do anything. Did you adjust his pay?
I'm not at liberty to disclose such matters at this time.
Need to adopt the ordinance.
Yeah.
Need to adopt the ordinance?
Yep. Whatever that was spoken pertaining to the ordinance, I moved that we adopted. So move, Mr. Chairman. There was so much said. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the enactment clause.
The motion's been made to adopt the ordinance presented by Alex. Any more discussion?
Alex, could you repeat all that?
Well, you know, this is one reason why I title my resolutions. So you could always just adopt the title, and that adopts the entire thing. So
Evergreen study.
Anyway, motion's been made. Any more discussion?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. That's it?
Yeah.
So we will
You can bang that
adjourn
gavel.
this meeting until 8:30, January the 9th.
Sir.
Do I need to hit the gavel with on there?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
You got the power.
All right.